All right, welcome y'all. We back with another episode of the Squid Games Aftermath podcast recap episodes. And we have a special guest, our friend Shelby Hoefling, an elderly enthusiast. I'm saying your last name right?
You said it perfectly. Yes.
All right, and she is number 438 up in here, almost the highest number in the show. Shelby, how you doing today? What's going on with you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. Excited to talk about Squid Games. But yeah, I'm doing good. Love it.
Excellent. Where are you coming to us from?
I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm from Virginia though, but I live in Baltimore.
What town? I was just in Virginia like 2 weekends ago.
What? I'm from Northern Virginia, like Arlington Falls Church. Where in Virginia were you?
Okay, I was in Norfolk.
Ah, nice. I'm going near there this weekend. That's a good area. Well,
Yeah,
next
it's a
time,
beautiful,
if you're ever nearby, you have to let
town.
me know.
Oh, 100%. I have a lot of good friends in DC area. I had stayed in DC at night when I was down there too. So,
Nice.
all right.
Very
Well,
cool.
I got a new. What's the area called? The MWV.
DMV.
DMV. I got a new
Yep.
DMV Connect.
Yep. Next time you're in DC for sure.
Okay. I like that. So, we gonna jump right into it, Shelby. Why did you decide to apply for Squid Games, the challenge?
I applied because I'm definitely a yes person. So, someone had reached out to me on Instagram DM. So, I guess they had seen a video of mine online and said, "Hey, there's this reality show. Here's the link if you're interested in learning more and maybe you want to apply." So, I clicked on it. I saw that it was Squid Games and I was like, "Yeah, sure." So, I mean, I had never like looked for something like this. I never like thought about it, would not have even known about it had this person not written me. But past that, then I started to go through the application process and just like everyone else, just like was going through all of those steps of the interviews and everything like that.
Gotcha. So did you watch Squid Games before you applied?
Yes, I had seen it, but there were a few episodes that I like kind of hadn't really paid attention to. So I went back and rewatched it as if you're like preparing for an exam, you watch it a million times over. But I do have to say there were some moments where people in the show, like when we were filming, they were super big Squid Games fans. But I did not tell any of them that I was not as big of a fan as they are. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't feel like I knew as much about the show that a lot of people there I felt like they did know. But I didn't want to put like any target on my back, so I just like kept kind of being like, "Oh my god, yeah, I know. I remember that scene as well."
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I watched it the first time through when it released, and that was the only time I watched it. I did not go and rewatch it because that show is long. Like, I feel like the episodes kind of drag at moments because there's a lot of just parts where they're just chilling and just silent talking, and
Totally.
I didn't really want to watch it. Like, I knew what happened, but I did a lot of YouTube research on like the show and like the reasons behind this, the reasons behind that. So that's my homework or studying that I did. So.
Yep, I like that. I did a little bit of YouTube research with like the person who had recreated it as well. But yeah, I mean, to a certain point, you're like, well, how much can I study this show? There is a lot of just like downtime in between games and stuff.
hmm So you apply for the show, you get accepted onto the show, and it's about time for you to get ready to leave. Kind of tell me what's going through your head like the night before you leave that you're packing and whatnot.
I think I was nervous and excited. We had just been through like so many interviews, phone and then video, and you submitted your video and it was and then you had to like speak with a psychiatrist and so you had to keep making it through all of these things to get on the show. So by the time it finally came time to go, I was just like anxious to okay, let's do it. Like we've been talking about this for a long time now. Um but I was nervous, of course, but yeah, mostly just excited for the most part. And, like you don't know what to expect, so you kind of just want it to happen so you can see what's going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. It was the anticipation building up. It was unbearable half the time because they wouldn't let you know till like last minute if you were on the show, and you had to make plans like make sure your bills are paid, make sure the dog is taken care of, all these little things that people don't really think about when you're watching these shows. There was a lot of prep on the participant side. So that could
Totally.
definitely be a stressor. So you get on the flight, you head out, and you get, take care of all the hotel stuff, and you're prepping, and it's they wake up you up super early in the morning, and you're getting ready to get on the bus and go. Kind of tell me what are you thinking about when it's like time to go?
I think just still excited, still just like kind of trying to take in every second, every moment as this is an awesome opportunity. Like, no matter how far you make it, no matter what happens, each step is like really cool. You're put up in this hotel in London, you're waiting to go. Then you go and you see all of those other people there. I will have to say it was a little bit like for up until that moment, you're like the only star of the show in your mind because that's the only person you know. And then you get there and you see all these people and you're like, what? All these people are on the show too? But
Exactly.
obviously,
No,
know?
100%. 100%. You feel like it's your journey, and it's just like, you on player one settings, and everyone
Yeah.
else is just the NPC out here.
Yeah. And then you meet them and or you see them. We weren't allowed to talk in the hotel, so that was kind of interesting. And then once we got on the bus, there was like a little bit of chit chat as we were going to that first game. So it was nice to start to meet people and see like, oh, these are just regular people like me. They have their story. So it was fun just starting to like get to know everyone and feel the excitement because up until that point, you're kind of like by yourself as far as like I'm going into this. And then when you meet people, then you get excited that like you both are on this journey together.
Yeah, 100%. So you're on the journey. Put your back door the Explorer backpack on. Well, we ain't got no backpacks or no map, so we don't know where we're going. Actually, I did talk to somebody who knew exactly where we were at the hangar because he's
Yes.
from that area. Actually, he's like, I knew exactly where we were at. I was like, wow.
Yeah. Yep.
So we get in there, and you know which game it's coming because you can kind of see it from the tents on like the background, and of course it's
Hmm.
red light, green light. So when you first step into that arena and you see the doll and everything, what's kind of going through your head?
I think I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, I should have practiced red light, green light more. I had a few ideas of what it was like practicing at home. You would, I would like have people say, okay, let's do red light, green light. And I would run from one place of the living room to the other. And I would practice my like hold it there stance and I would practice like stopping on time and things like that. But little did I know that actually I should be practicing for like holding my pose for 45 minutes.
In
So
the cold.
in the cold. Yep. I didn't realize that I should be also saying, oh no, let's go outside for this. So, but even at that moment, right, we still didn't know what was to come because we were not told that you were going to be holding your poses for that long. So even if that in that moment, walking out and seeing red light, green light, it was kind of just like, oh my God, here we go. Like, this is it. It's just like nerves and anxiety and all that stuff. But you're trying not to overthink it. And you're just like, I'm going to do the best that I can. And then you just like get right into it eventually, once we were there for a couple hours.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a wake up call. Like, oh, this is not no game. They're not just gonna hand this 4.56 million to anybody. You got to get in there and earn it.
Yep.
And we quickly in the first round learned, like, wow, is
Yep.
this how the whole show gonna be?
Yeah. Yep. Totally. No, it was so crazy. It was like, it was, um, it was definitely a test of how bad you wanted it and like how far you could push yourself. And even in every moment that I like kept pushing myself, I was surprising myself the entire time. Like, I'm like, oh my God, how do you have this in you? What is wrong with you? But it was crazy. And just like being around so many people that wanted it so badly, you're like, no, I'm going to do it. I want it more.
Yeah, no, definitely it was a test of will, I think, more than anything. I mean, your body's going to do what your body can do, but it's a mentality, And
Hmm.
so, what was your strategy after you kind of your initial strategy, and then what actually happened?
With red light, green light.
Hmm.
Initial strategy was stand up, hold still, try and like keep a slight bend in your knees because you don't know how long. I mean, I think at that point, like they had kind of we I forget whether they insinuated it or they said it, but I think like the general idea was you could be holding this for 10 minutes. But then obviously it was like I felt like we were holding it for 45 minutes. And so my first approach was to like stand, but the person in front of me, so I think you're going to talk with her later, but Rebecca, or you already talked with her, I don't know, but she was right in front of me and she had fallen to the ground, and like just human instinct, I just followed her and copied her. I didn't even think about it. There's no time to think in there. So I copied her and I got to the ground too. And I was like, actually, this is really nice on the ground. I like it here. So I was like doing, a round or two on the ground where I'm laying, but then it was so cold from the ground that at that point, and then it also delays you on getting up and running. So kind of about halfway through, I'm realizing I'm at the very end. Oh, my strategy as well was to be in the back. So in the show, when we come out, you can see me in the very back. But I'm definitely not one of those people who like run up to the line and they're like, let's go. I'm like at the very back because I thought we were going to be stampeding each other. So I wanted to stay out of everybody's way. But halfway through, I'm like at the very back. People are like starting to approach that finish line. And I'm thinking I'm not going to make it. So I would just bolt it. But at a certain point, I tried to get up on my feet. And every time I did, I was like, they're not going to hold me. Like they're so dead asleep and cold that I can't do it. So a lot of going through red light, green light was me contemplating, do I want to try and stand or do I want to just stay on the ground and freeze my like butt off? So, but I stayed on the ground the entire rest of the time because I didn't trust my legs to do it and then to like collapse on me.
Yeah, you had the same strategy as me. I mean,
You were on the ground?
yeah, I mean, I stood the first time in a like sideways half kind of like squat because I was like, oh, I'm comfortable here. But that was not the play. My back started seizing up. I started shaking. I
Ooh.
started rambling. I was like, this is not good. I thought I was gonna be the first one out. So I was like, this is the last time I'm standing in this entire thing. So I sat down the second time. Then after that, I just dove every time because I didn't, like you said, I didn't trust my legs. I didn't want to jerk by accident or like pulse or get a cramp. And so
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I'm laying down, my back won't seize up, I won't get a cramp. I just got to just get up quick and go. So,
Yep. So did you stay on like your tummy when you would dive down on the ground? Yep.
hmm
Which was kind of nice. Did you have your head down? Like you would
yep.
just be
I
kind of,
started like doing like that for a while.
yep. Yep. Yeah. No, that was the move for sure.
Well, that's your strategy, and it worked. It
Mm-hmm.
worked, and you made it past red light, green light. Player 438 advances. Congratulations. She lives to survive and tell the tale that few be able to tell.
Uh-huh.
And you finish. So tell me before that, when you're like almost to the line, what's kind of going through your head when you're getting to the finish line?
So I didn't think that I was going to make it because at a certain point the clock was there was like so little time left and I had to make it I kind of like looked at how far was I to make it, and there just wasn't enough time. So there was definitely not enough time. So as we were filming, they would have us hold, as you know, for like, almost 45 minutes. And then they would say, okay, players, you can kind of relax. And we got to relax for like, I would say like 2 to 5 minutes. We were able to just like let your shoulders slouch, just like little things like that. And so in all of those moments where we were allowed to just like let it go, I started to get to know the person next to me. And so I mentioned Rebecca, so she was next to me. And so we started not knowing each other, but we finished. We say like the best of friends will know each other for the rest of our lives. Like we're trauma bonded because as we're going through, like we're trying to hype each other up every time we're allowed to talk. And so towards the end though, I turned to her and I was like, I don't think we're gonna make it. And she was like, I don't think we are either. And I said, and so I'm trying to like look on the positive side and I'm like, look, Rebecca, I don't know your life at all, but I have a good life. Like it's okay. I'm happy to go back to it. Really, I didn't need the money. And she's like, Shelby, get off of that train. I'm not on that train. Get off of there. Get back onto focus. So I got back onto focus and I was like, okay, no, you're right. I want the money. I need the money. I'm going to do it. And then at that moment, right when they had started, they put a little bit of time back on. So by the grace of God, like just a little bit of time going back on, we were able to make it. And that moment of finishing the finishing line or crossing the finishing line was the most like exhilarating excitement. You're just so proud of yourself, like more than anything else, I think, because it was just absolute torture the entire time. And the fact that you could do it was amazing. And we were the last ones to cross. So we were like, we did this the longest. We're the strongest. We're going to beat everyone.
Hey, she was like, snap out of it, snap
Yeah.
out of it. You hallucinating, wake up.
No, this is not a time to stay positive. Get back in it.
Yeah, no, that's funny that you say that because it got me thinking of like the Lion King when Simba's out in the desert and he's hallucinating and thinks he's about to die, and then all of a sudden he starts seeing like Timon and Pumbaa, and he's like, "Huh, what's going on? Oh, he's back to life." And that's
Yeah.
kind of how y'all was going with me. So that's funny that y'all had that little moment.
Yeah, it was sweet. It was really nice. It was definitely one of those crazy things. Like if anyone's gone through anything hard in life, like trauma, you really are trauma bonded with if you're lucky enough to kind of get through with someone. And that was what that experience was, which was just kind of crazy. You didn't walk into that game knowing you were about to go through that.
Not in the least, but I'm like, oh, this is gonna be all right. Okay, we're gonna get past this, go to the next game. Nah, we're
Uh-huh.
not doing it like that. We going to the extreme difficult game settings. They turn the
Yep.
dial all the way up
Yep.
and turn the temperature all the way down. So,
Yep. Exactly.
but we make it through, and you finish off. So then you go back, and then you get ready to go into the dorm. So when you step into the dorms for the first time, tell me what you're thinking in your head.
I'm thinking, oh wow, okay, they really are gonna like make it just like the show. I'm thinking, wow, this is gonna be interesting. I think I'm just mostly there's a lot of gratitude for, okay, I made it to the dorms. Like I've made it to this part. I'm just so grateful that I made it past red light, green light, and like here we go. Now we're here. Now is like this is like the celebration moment. Like I'm gonna let myself just celebrate for a little bit, as much as you can in a dorm where you have like nothing but water and occasional food.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it kept us talking for a while, and I feel like that's all I talked about. I said red light, green light maybe like a
Yes.
million times that day, and just replayed the story in my head again and again and again. I was like, well, how'd you stop? And it was
Yeah.
interesting hearing everyone's perspective because everyone had a similar but different story, and you
Yes.
could take that with you. So,
Totally. And I think for like Netflix with their editing, they probably like loved it and hated it. They probably were like, okay, so we're past red light, green light. We need you all to like move on and stop talking about it, but we could not stop talking about it.
yeah, no, they didn't really include too much footage of like people talking about the game. It was kind of like maybe the voiceovers and a few people's reaction, but they didn't. I think what they don't show is they don't really show how everyone was just traumatized
Yep.
and how truly difficult it was. Like it was
Yeah.
15 minutes long on the show, which is disappointing, but it was crazy.
Yep.
Like,
And we were all talking too, like, how do you think they're going to show it? And everyone was saying, like, they're not going to show the extent of what it was. So it is kind of funny to think back. At the end of the day, it's a show. And so, yeah, why would they want to get footage of us talking about those things? And then, and I guess they wanted to rush through, but they could redo Squid Games and they could show it from like the perspective of like the player, like a little bit more of like, the perspective of what it was like to go through it rather than like this whole kind of overarching game.
yeah, 100%, 100%. I need a B-roll or something, coach.
Yeah.
Give me the footage, release the tapes.
Yeah.
But anyways, you make it past. We in the dorms for a couple days, and it's time to get ready for the second game. So we're getting up out of there. We go on the steps, but then they tricked us, go back to bed.
Yep.
So then we try to, it's time to go to sleep, wake up. Then it's time to go to the game. So when you walk into the white room for the first time, what are you thinking?
Okay. So this is going to be funny. So we walk in. So I had a group of three close friends that I kind of talked to and hung out with. You will talk to Mark later this week, I know, but it was Mark, Kevin, and Jacobin. And we
Spoke
walk
to
into
Shelby, a couple days ago.
Okay, perfect. Nice. So we walked in, so we were like a little kind of squad. We walked into the room and we had thought, have you spoken to Louisa yet? Or are you okay.
Yes,
Okay.
but not on here, but yes, in person.
Okay. So Louisa was the very first person for line one. And so I had thought, and I don't even know if she like will hear this or will ever know, but we had thought that she knew things. Like, we just created this conspiracy theory that Louisa knew internal information. And because your
Why'd
mind,
you come to that though?
she was being pulled a lot, and she's a very like, she has such a poker face that I just was like, she knows things, like there's things happening behind her very like serious looking face. And so she was like being pulled for interviews a lot. So when we walked into the room, she like quickly walked to line 1 and to like the front of the line, and so we just quickly decide, okay, she knows something. So we follow her and we get in line 1 right behind her. So it was Louisa, Kevin, Mark, me, then Jacobin. So that was like that. Those were the thought processes going into the white room with the numbers. It was just quickly, instinctually follow Louisa and line up behind her. And then she like was taken into the room, and like then she has to choose the shape, and then she dies, and she absolutely looks shocked. She didn't see that coming. And we're like, oh, maybe she didn't know anything.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. Because like, I don't know, you just go, but half of the group, so I do have to say half of the group did not think that Louisa knew things, but me and Jacobin did. And we like definitely when she was taken, we are like, oh, maybe she doesn't, but me and Jacobin still looked at each other and we're like, I'm still waiting for the show to come out to confirm that she doesn't know anything. And it came out, and they haven't shown any footage to show that she knows anything. So that was absolutely just, we made that up. But then we're in the line, and then all the drama is happening, and we're like, wow, yeah, we're at the front of the line. I mean, you must have been thinking the same thing, like, oh, damn, I'm at the front.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't really think about I didn't think about that. I knew they were going to give us a shape, but I thought it was going to be legit random like they did in the actual show. And
Yeah.
when the first group put their hands on the walls, I thought, okay, that's it. Like, this is the shape. This is the shape. The one person with the hand on the wall is eliminated or has to have the shape that he didn't pick. That's everything that's going through my mind, because I was like, okay, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm next. Like, this is the shape I'm getting. And it's my turn, and I was like, oh my gosh, why did I do this? And yeah, I knew I didn't want to be first. That's my one strategy, I guess. It's just I didn't want to be first.
Right.
And I had to be second, and what
But
happened
second
happened.
didn't work out either.
Didn't work out in my favor. It wasn't in the cards for a brother this time, so I had to make my swift on, curtain call real quick and get up out of there. But yeah, so first line goes out, second line goes out, third line's up, and ultimately you receive the beautiful, wonderful circle. How are you feeling after you get that?
So Mark went up. So first person gets out, second person goes out. Then Mark was the third person in our line, and he goes, and he'll talk to you more about his experience with it, but he was definitely like struggling on what to do and everything. And so right before he had walked out, I said to him, because there were also, what they don't show in the show is in between all of the shape picking, and I guess you somewhat saw it because you were the next person, but after you, for that third person, there was like 5 minutes in between that person going out, and the whole room would come up to that person at the front of the line and like basically like yell at them and be like, don't you dare choose any other shape. And so everyone was like coming up to Mark, and I mean encouraging as well. They're like, you got this, like you have to pick circle, this is what it is. And logically, basically the whole room had decided like that's how it's going to be. 1 is circle, 2 is triangle, and then 3 is star.
Do you think that's fair?
I do. I just think there's no other way to decide.
There are other ways. To decide. So you think that's fair? Whatever line you're in, and that's the shape order, that's the one you have to pick, like regardless.
I say that, and I think that even if I was in the 4th line, I would have been like, crap. Like, I mean, if you look at the way the shapes are lined up, 4 is umbrella. Like, I feel like I would have just said, okay, yeah, that's how it is. So that's like,
Really?
yeah, that's what I think. I think logically that. You think it's differently?
Yeah, of course. They give you a decision for a reason. 1, TV, but 2, it's to get people to agree on a certain outcome. And I think since they gave you the decision, regardless of line, I wasn't even thinking line order, like, oh, this one gets this, two gets this, three gets this, four gets this. Nah, somebody they proposed that to me. I was like, that's the last thing I'm doing. Because if that's the way we're
Really?
deciding this, then that's ridiculous and asinine because nobody knew what line order it could have been. And if it was any line order, other line order, you wouldn't have this. You wouldn't have it. And that's how I feel about it. That's how it's different being in the room. There's a little more pressure on, and
Yep.
when everyone, like you said, when everyone comes up to you, it's a lot. It changes your mindset. I had an idea going in there, and it kind of completely changed. So,
Well, what was your idea? Like your idea
my
for?
original, my original idea, before, if anyone wasn't allowed to come up to me, I would have argued for the best shape possible. But then I told myself, if there's 5 seconds left, I'm just gonna run to Umbrella.
Really?
But that
And you were
changed.
running there, weren't you?
I did for a second, but then I stopped because I was like, forget this. If I can't have it, nobody can. Or if I gotta have it, nobody's going on. But
Yeah.
that was my original idea because I have confident in my abilities, like I can do this, yada yada yada. But
Yeah.
everyone was telling me, Umbrella's impossible. You're not gonna get it. No one of us are gonna make it. If we get Umbrella, we're screwed. We're going home. Like it can't be that hard, can it? And everyone's like, yes, it's impossible. I've tried
Yeah.
it at home a million times. I was like, for real, it's that hard. And they're like, it's super hard. And that kind of psyched me into the fact of like, okay, well, I can't do this. And you see everyone in the back of your line, you see their faces and they all look horrified. And that's the last image you have before going into this room. And it's all you're thinking about. And you don't want to let your line down. That's the biggest
Yeah.
thing. Forget yourself. Like, forget yourself. You're looking at your line. You're like, I know it's an individual game, but at the same time, you're setting yourself up for failure at the same time if you have to pick Umbrella.
Totally.
Now, I think the best way to go about it was, which I will get into this later on my Instagram because I have not said this yet publicly. If I could go back
Uh-huh.
and I could redo it and put myself back in that spot, it's time to go in, I would have said, okay, everyone, we're not going to agree. None of us want the Umbrella, of course. So I think the only fair thing to do is for each of us to point at someone and tell them they should be the leader, and the leader has to decide everyone's fate. None of us are ever going to pick what we want. So that's the only fair thing. So whoever gets the most votes, like whoever somebody would have got 2, 1, 2, that person would have had to be the leader. And then we just have to agree that that's what it is.
I could have seen that happening. I could have seen people going for that.
That 100%. I would have went for it if we all agreed to it. Now we all did agree on the race, but nobody after that. People was like, I still don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I was like, it was stupid to me. But I think if we just selected a leader, just like battleships was a leader,
Yep.
we have to just fall on this sword. That's the decision we have to make. And at the time, I didn't think of that because that was like the last thing of letting somebody else in charge. Because somebody in my line was like, you got to be in charge. You got to do this. You got to do that.
Yeah.
But I should have taken more of a big approach at everything and like really thought democratically on just one person's only going to be able to make this decision. And just like one person was able to make the Spencer pick the Umbrella, that was his sole decision essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why everything became the way it was. But I wish I would have proposed that plan because I think everyone would have went along with it. I can't see somebody saying, well, that's not fair. And I'm like, well, there's no other option. There's literally no other option for us to all be somewhat not satisfied, but just complacent or content with the decisions that are being made.
So I think that would have been good, but I can like almost guarantee you that okay, yes, they agreed to it, then the person picks it. But if like someone in line 1, 2, or 3 even got Umbrella, they already like I feel like it was already a thing that was being said in the entire room, that it was in everyone's mind that 1 is the first shape, 2 is the second, 3rd is like, so they would have, had they have been then put to Umbrella, they would have been like, no, actually I don't want to do this. Like they would have got back.
And that's the same thing that happened with the race. We agreed on the race. They didn't do that. And at that point, I said, forget it, fuck it. I'm not budging. Because if you guys agree on something, we're doing it. And if you want to go back in the agreement, then I can't do anything with that.
Yep.
I can't.
Yep.
My hands are tied. So.
And it would have been that. It would have been like a rock, paper, scissors situation. You get the answer that you don't want, and you're like, nope, actually, never mind. I don't want to do
it. I can't work with people like that. I can't do it in real life, but I can't do it in the game. And if that's how it's gonna be, then I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I can't just pick the worst thing because that's what you guys are doing a dictatorship. That's not how this is working.
So
And
wait, which line were you in again?
I was in the umbrella line.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But then the other thing too is everyone was saying like the shapes are on the walls and people should have known this and just
But
like
they
this
were,
is just
but
what
on,
it is.
but on the walls it was circle, triangle, umbrella, star.
I know, yeah, it was that. So that was a little bit confusing. They tried to get us. It was a toughie. But ultimately like I got it. But from the umbrella line, I can see how you think that way. But it's just the
Well,
consensus of
agree
the
to
room.
disagree. Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
You were in circle line, and the thing is, the people in the circle and umbrella line have two very contrasting thoughts. Very
Mhm.
contrasting, because you have two completely different point of views. You were like, "I'm in line one. This is it." We were in line four. They gave us a decision. You're looking at it from two different angles.
Yep.
So I understand. I get both sides of it, but that's just my take. That's
Nope, totally. Two different perspectives on it. I fully get that. It was just a matter of going through until someone folded, which
yeah,
like
honestly.
which okay, so here's the thing though. The lines of like circle, triangle, and star and everything, they're saying like this is how it is. That like the fourth person has to pick umbrella. And if not, then you have to be willing to die. My only question to that is that's really easy to say when you're at the back of the line. But when you're at the front of the line, like I would have been curious if that line had kind of switched up, if that's how people would have been so vocal about it. But I think that like the people that were at the front of the line were really like humble people who were willing to like do what is right
Oh,
for the most part.
Oh, okay. Hold
I
on.
said for the most part.
Hold on now. You about
For
to
the most
break
part.
open the bar of G, a bar of the jar of bees now. Because I think everyone is saying this too. If Spencer 299 would have went to the second line and put his hand on the triangle, that 432 would have went to the umbrella.
That's what everyone's
You think
That's what
that?
everyone's saying, and I do think that. I do think I would say that that would be the one outlier of like probably someone who's not willing to take it to die. And that would have made for great TV, and that would have been very dramatic, and that would have not affected my line at all. So that would have been fantastic. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Yeah, they thought I was gonna be that guy too, because everyone saw like he's not gonna get out, he's not gonna get out. I can't see him doing it. My line was like, oh, we trust him at the front, like he's not gonna pick umbrella. So I was really stuck, because
Oh,
I'm like the quote unquote power guy, which I don't know who
yeah.
comes up with these things, but it's just based off of aesthetics.
Yep.
And yeah,
It
I
was-
mean, it was tough being in the front. We'll just leave it at that. It was tough
Yeah.
being at the front. But
Yep.
anyways, you get circle, you get in there, you treat your team, your line is elated, you get in there, and you do it pretty. How is it with the circle with you?
Um, yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, everyone was saying like friends have been asking, how was it? Was it difficult? And it was difficult like in the respect of you don't know if you're going to get a cookie that maybe just like is like a flop. Like it has like a hole in it that you didn't see or something like that. It could totally break. I feel bad for the people whose cookies did break because that probably has nothing to do with their talent of getting the cookie out and being patient and all that. It probably was just like a really unlucky cookie where there was some sort of hole that you didn't see, like a bubble hole or whatever, air bubble. But there's like a lot of pressure, obviously. But for the most part, you're just like kind of like red light, green light. Like you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna like, what can I control in this situation? I'm gonna do the best with what I can control. And then you get into it, and then thank goodness my cookie worked out and I got to take that sucker and I got to eat it. And it was the best cookie I've ever had in my whole life.
Oh, she does it and she completes her task at hand. Number 438 advances to the next round. She is moving and cruising and she's taking care of business. Last to finish in the first game, but then she got the easiest shape in the second game. She's doing the damn thing. So it's time to go back to the dorms. We have a little phone incident, which, you weren't really affected by it because you weren't close to the phone. Did you think about getting the phone?
I was near the phone for the phone calls that weren't shown on the show. So they showed the first answer and then they showed him answering for the third. Was it the third time or the fourth time?
The fourth time.
The fourth time. Yep. So there was a second and a third phone call. I was near the phone for one of those. And like I've regretted it ever since about not answering. But now that I watched it, because he got donuts and I love Elliot, he got the donuts and I'm so happy he did. But I was like right there and I was like, you should have answered the phone. That would have been so fun to be like, yeah, I answered the phone at one time. But I watched the show and I was like, it's okay. My life is fine.
Yeah, I wish they would have shown the other two to give more context and like it wasn't just
Yeah.
back to back. I think that was very misleading. But hey, it's
Mhm.
198 and we don't really care about him, so
No, I mean, that was the thing was like I was actually kind of happy that that like they 198 is the one that went home, right? Right. Okay. Just want to make sure. Yeah, I was actually happy that they didn't show all of kind of the drama and stuff with him because yeah, we don't need to give him more attention. You know what I mean?
no, we need to get this can up out of here because
Yep.
this boy
Yeah.
is causing problems and not in-game problems,
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
problems.
Right. He's not a good person. Don't come after me, but he's not a good person.
Like we ain't worried about 198. If you want to be on the podcast, come through, boy. You know where to find me. But speak your piece and speak your truth. We out here for everybody. You know, I want 198 on here. I want 432 on here, man. But if y'all don't want to come on, don't come on. If you want to come on. I'd love to have you. Everyone's welcome. But we'll move on from that. And it's time to go to sleep and wake up again. And it's time for the third game. And that is Tug of War. So
Right.
and so everyone's tug of war this, tug of war that, tug of war this. You get in the white room again, and they got the 8 lines. And so, what's kind of your mindset walking into the white room the second time?
That time, so we had just been scarred from the cookie situation where Kevin went out, and then Mark almost went out. So it was just me, Mark, and Jacobin that were left of like our initial squad. So walking into this one, we decided, okay, now we're gonna split up because we're gonna up our chances of just like one of us making it through. And so we walked in, we split up, and I hadn't really been talking with people in the dorms about like if there's a tug of war, can I get on your team? I feel like I'm not like the daintiest girl, but I'm tall. But I was losing a lot of weight in Squid Game, so I probably was looking very dainty to people. But I don't really care. I mean, I was just like, it is what it is. Like whatever. I'm a big believer in like, what's meant to be will be. So like I'll be on the right team that I need to be on. I know that I'm strong. I don't want to try and have to prove it to all these people walking around trying to like figure out whose team I'm going to be on. It was just a little bit too dramatic for me to like kind of plan like that. So walking into that room and us being like, okay, if it's tug of war, what are we going to do? I just kind of went with like, I had made friends with the group that I did join. And so I was just happy that I was next to them and they were looking for a person and they were like, yeah, come on to our team. So I was like, okay, great. So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of stories and a lot of situations in a game of tug of war where actually it has nothing to do with like strength and it has more to do on like your strategy of when you're pulling and stuff like that. So I just figured whatever will work out. So we all kind of split up, made our way into the group, into different lines. And then just kind of waiting all day for that moment of finally being able to walk in and see that it's not tug of war.
So when you see that it's not tug of war, what's going through your head?
A little bit of laughter in my mind for all of the people that thought they were walking into tug of war. Like that was a little bit kind of amusing to me because they had all been so like kind of like macho, like I got this, I'm gonna walk in, I'm gonna just like tear it apart. So at first it was kind of like just this is hilarious. And then again, like the mindset is what's meant to be will be. So I just figured, okay, like I've never been like one to whip out Battleship and play it all the time. So I was not about to like ask if I could be a leader. And so then I just got into a ship and I literally had no idea of, okay, what ship do I want to get on and who do I want to stand next to and where do I want to place it? Like I was totally putting all of my fate into this other person, which kind of looking back on, I'm like, but I don't know, like people say that game does have strategy and it's smart. And yeah, I'm sure there are like a few things as we've seen it back playing that there are things people can do. But for the most part, it's just, I feel like luck. And so I was like, if I'm meant to get out, then like I'm meant to get out. And lo and behold, I was the first person hit.
Well, your team, yeah, sadly, your team has 57 as your captain, and you decide to get on the 5 boats. Well,
Yeah.
you were put on the 5 boat or decided. So was it, what was that getting on the 5 boat? Did you pick it? Did you get put on it? How was it?
So this is going to be a little bit embarrassing, but I think that I was so like of the mindset of this leader person knows what they're doing and I'm just going to trust them and it's fine. And like they told us the instructions, but it was also just like this high stressful situation that I don't know that I fully took in the instructions. So when I was watching the show the other night, that was the first time that I realized, oh, so if you're hit on a boat, but your boat doesn't sink, you still are saved. Like you're still able. I didn't realize that at the time in the game. So when I was the first one hit, I was like, oh, I'm out, done. But now I look back on it and I'm like, dang, you could have like had faith and hope for like 2 more minutes or something. But ultimately the ship was sunk. Um, yeah, my cousin was saying to me that it was probably stupid to do a 5 person, which I guess it was because you are taking up more space and then eventually that 5 person is going to be hit. But you could also argue like it's probably better to be on a ship where they're definitely going to sink a 2 person faster than a 5 person. So again, it goes back to like, is there strategy or is there not, you know?
Yeah, I think ultimately throughout the whole game, it's kind of good to stay in the middle with everything. I mean, red light, green light, you're in the middle. You kind of have a quality chance of finishing in time.
Hmm.
Dalgona, if you were in the middle 2 lines, you had hope at least. You weren't in the best
Yep.
situation, but you were all right. And then in this game too, if you got the 3-4 boat, I think I saw a lot of 2 boats and 5 boats being sunk for the most part.
Yeah.
3-4 boat, a little risk but a little reward. So that
Yep.
seems like you got to play the perfect kind of middle strategy. So if they do another Squid Games, just stay in the middle. Wherever you at, just be in the middle. Especially in the votes too. Kind of
Yep.
stay in the middle. Don't be in the
Yep.
front, don't be in the back. So
Exactly. And
definitely,
like,
yeah,
don't make a name for yourself. Just stay in the middle, be friends with everyone. You could have made it far. You were staying in the middle. You were like, you weren't like loud, but you weren't too quiet. Like
yeah.
that's the way you do it.
Yeah, that's the kind of game I was going for. People know who I am, so they don't eliminate me because they don't know me. But
Right.
at the same time, don't be like I'm the one in charge or I'm putting on the talent shows and all these other things. So yeah, that wasn't my initial strategy, but definitely I guess in hindsight, looking at your game from a far perspective, I guess that's what I was doing.
Yep.
But yes, sadly, your boat is hit first. You're going against B's team, and they give her a lot of shine in this episode. And
Yeah.
she says, someone always puts a boat in C3, and that's what I'm going to do. And y'all, you was in the C3 position.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, she just boom, 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 boom. So they capsize y'all boat and they win the game. So you guys are eliminated. Unfortunately, this is 438. Her journey is ending here. Tell me how you feeling when you're eliminated and you get back to the hotel or you get out of the game. Tell me kind of what's going through your mind.
So, gosh, I'm thinking like at this point I was missing my family. I was worried about my grandma at the time she was alive, but she was 98 or 97 at the time. So I was like, you got the experience. And at this point, I'm just hoping that like a good person wins. Like, I just want a good person to win. Yes, I wanted to win. And yes, I wanted to make it farther, but it is what it is. And so I was like excited to be able to check in, make sure that my family was good and all of them. And yeah, I just like mostly missed them. So I was excited to see them, excited to take a shower. Like there were so many great things that you got right after you left that kind of like helped with the pain of like, dang, I got out. There were so many great things, but I think it was kind of, and then I was excited to come home, like fly home, get home. But I feel like it was more so like the month later where I was bummed that I didn't make it farther. And I just went through all of these situations in my mind, like, dang, if only you had done this and if you'd done that. But at the time when it happened, I was stoked for a shower. I was stoked to call my family. my boyfriend at the time, like I was stoked. So, and eat more food. But yeah, later was when I was like bummed about it. But
No, definitely. I feel that. I mean, I was kind of opposite. I was really bummed at first, and then it got better as it went on, just because, that's just how I operate. I'm a very heavy on something when it happens, and then it eases off on me. So,
that's
but
probably
hey,
a good way to do it though, because then you're like, okay, time to move on. Whereas I just
yeah.
dwell.
Now you got to move up and move on. It's hard, but you got life goes on, and it wasn't the end of the world. I mean, yes, we want the money, but you got to get it another way. So yes, that's where your journey ends. Looking back on the game, how are you reflecting with everything that have seen already, but also that happened?
Um, so looking back on it, I think my biggest regret was when I was in the show, I thought it was rigged. I thought that like they knew I thought that they knew who they wanted to make like kind of towards the end. So I kept thinking those things as I saw people being pulled out for interviews and things like that. So I that's my kind of only regret, in that I wish that I had been open to the fact that like it's not rigged. And it was like the second game, like the cookie situation, kind of made me think, okay, maybe it's not rigged. But then at the same time, like so many umbrellas were coming through that I was like, okay, interesting. So I was like still unsure. But after that third game, I was like, okay, 100% this game is not rigged. So that was like just so silly that you wasted time and energy thinking that. So that was my biggest regret. I think they've done a good job with like the editing and making it an interesting show. I mean, the whole thing is totally like such a social experiment, and like, I mean, the show in itself was just like an absolute mind fuck. So it's kind of cool to watch it back and be like, oh wow, yeah, that's what we went through. Only a glimpse of that though is what you see.
Yeah, only a small glimpse, and that's why we got to put you on a pedestal on the podcast and give your point of view, because we got to get the perspective of Shelby of what's really going down. So I appreciate you coming
Hey.
on. So do you have any final words for the peoples at home? Anything before we get up out of here?
Um, gosh, no. I mean, I think like I walked away from the show truly. I feel like it made me realize, and I don't know if everyone got this, but for me at least, it made me really see that like money is not everything. Um, but again, I don't know that this is what everyone's experience is, because I feel like everyone's like, no, I wanted the money. But I feel like for me, it taught me that like my life, it stripped you of all of your things. All you could do was think about your life, kind of, right? And like socialize. And when you're not socializing, you're thinking about your life. So it helped me to be really reflective of my life and be like, I like my life, like, or I love my life. Like, I love this, this, and this. And this is what I'm grateful for. And at the end of the day, like, I'm just grateful for like eating and being with my family and all, and like love. And so I feel like I got really deep life lessons from the experience. And whether those lessons kind of stick, of course you have your bad days, but I try and come back to those lessons. And so I truly did get a lot from the show. And it was a fun experience. It was a good time. But yeah, watching it back, my only hope is that I hope that a good person wins, like not an insanely money hungry person. I want someone to like do good with the money and be deserving of it and like not be egotistical. So those are my hopes. They might be too high, but we'll see.
Hey, we'll see. The finale's coming around soon. Only 8, 9 more days till the finale, so it's
Yeah.
getting. We about to have the next batch out in a couple of days, and it's about to get down to the nitty gritty. But Shelby, I really appreciate you coming on. You were a joy to have on here. I know we didn't get to talk a lot in the game, but it's nice to talk to you now and kind of, uninformally, formally meet. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, next time I'm in DC, I'ma holla at you and we gonna have to get a drink or something like that.
I would love that. That'd be perfect. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to see all of the other people that you talk to. So thanks for doing this.
All right, no problem, no problem. Well, y'all, we about to get up out of here. Until next time, peace and blessings, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.